that not everybody here is a boxing fan. So I'm going to talk about a guy named Roy Jones Jr. And if you know who Mike Tyson is, about 4 years ago, Mike Tyson did an exhibition bout. That's who he fought. And Roy and I were sparring partners. His father was my trainer, really good friends. He was best man at my first wedding. And he had went on to become the middleweight champion and the super middleweight champion and then the unified light heavyweight champion of the world. And I had gotten out of the military and I had gotten into sales, mortgages, and real estate. And I was living in a little 2-bedroom duplex. My desk took up half my bedroom. And on my birthday, I got this big package from Roy Jones. He remembered my birthday. And I opened up and it was full of posters and keychains and all kinds of gear. And I called him up to thank him, and it was total coincidence. He didn't send it to me on my birthday because it was my birthday. He had the #2 rap CD in the country called Round One. And he wanted me to promote his CD. So I got posters of Roy Jones Jr. in every boxing gym in San Diego, California. Well, one of the guys that used to be world champion had a gym, and he said, "You should bring Roy to San Diego." So I tried to line up the San Diego Sports Arena. They weren't very cooperative. They wanted $750,000 just for site fee and production costs. And I had a friend of mine in Portland, Oregon, actually the guy that got me in the mortgage business, said, "How about the Rose Garden?" So I called them up, and they came down from $1 million to $725,000 for their site fee and their production costs. And I lined up the Rose Theater for Roy to do an after party, and he could do some rap. So Roy was his own promoter. He had like 13 belts, and they want like 4 to 6% of his purse. So he only defend one at a time, and he paid himself as little as possible as a purse and made the rest of it as a promoter, but he didn't do the work. He had this guy named Brad Jacobs doing the work for him. And I called Brad up and I said, "I got the Rose Theater lined up for Roy to do an after party, but we're still looking for a place for the fight." I go, "Well, what about the Rose Garden?" He goes, "Well, Larry Miller, the CEO of Nike Jordan, hasn't come up with the money yet. If they don't have the money by the end of the day today, I'm taking this fight somewhere else. I'll call you back." And I called him up. Now, he had this personal assistant named Yvonne, and if she heard my name, she'd hang up. But on this day, the operator put me straight through. "Larry, this is Ruben Lowen. I can't, I know I'm not supposed to be talking to you, but Brad Jacobs can't talk to me either." And I said, "We need that money today. We're doing everything we can." And then I called the Portland Sports Authority, gave him his number, called the Rose Garden, gave him his number. 3 o'clock that afternoon, they came up with the money and made that fight happen. It was the most money Roy had ever made up until his next fight against John Ruiz, and Don King had to do that. They set the record for attendance for the Portland Rose Garden, and I got 10 ringside seats and 5 press passes. Well, the ringside seats, I would have to stand up the whole fight to be able to see the fight. So I gave them up to some guests, and I took the press seats, which was a really good view, and I sat right next to this guy who was formerly the promoter for Archie Moore when he was world champion, and he worked with other professional fighters. He was the main matchmaker in Reno, Nevada, and he was doing his Twilight Tour in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And they had great fights. They had former world champions, top-ranked contenders. A couple of my old sparring partners, would fight up there. But they didn't have TV. They didn't have distribution. Well, they were so far in the boondocks, all they had for connectivity was dial-up internet. And so we never could make that happen. But I learned so much from him, how to promote at an arena, how to promote at a casino, what a matchmaker does, what a manager does, and all that. And I decided I was going to do some managing. Well, that didn't work out really well. I don't really have the temperament for that. It's really expensive. You don't really make that much money unless you get a world champion. And then I decided I wanted to do a boxing TV show where the audience vote, the we would call it, the fan-based outcomes. So the audience vote would have weight in the scoring. And I took my concept to the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and they said the officials won't let you do it. They don't trust the audience. Well, if I knew that what I know now, I would have maybe put it in writing and I would sue them and we'd have been in business. Well, people call me all the time, wanting to know, advise them what to do about boxing. Well, this ex-Army Ranger in California, in Hollywood, he had his own production company, has distribution. When he saw Mike Tyson fight Jake Paul, he wanted to do boxing. Somebody told him to call me, and I taught him everything Mo taught me. And then he's like, why don't you be a sanctioning body? And I never thought about it. And he showed me how you can make the money. I'm like, yeah. And so he's like, what would it take to, put a fight together? So I got a card, I got my matchmaker, got to put a card together. What if we add another 200,000 to that? And so we got 2 great fighters for the main event. And he's like, okay, go get the money. I'm like, oh. Right, so trying to set up, I wanted to bring something to Houston. It was very difficult. The tribes, I got a really good relationship with Coushatta in Louisiana, but they're redoing their hotel. And I was about to pay the site rental fee for a venue in Longview, Texas, the Moab County Convention Center. But then our matchmaker's son goes to the Aerospace Academy in Palmdale, California, and they're going to give us their gym, right? But we have to come up with the 80 grand for the fighters' purses. Well, they came down to 50, so it's getting closer, right? And one of my clients in financial services is a consultant for SpaceX. And I'm thinking he might want to be around there because they got Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin. All their kids are going to this. That he might want to get exposure with them. And I told that to the producer in Hollywood the day before he sent a proposal to SpaceX. The next day, that day, Elon Musk approached Canelo Alvarez to sponsor his fight. And Canelo said, I don't do business with traitors. And so I'm like, well, how about us? So I'm doing a full court press, talking to everybody I know at Tesla in Houston and SpaceX. And I got my guy that's trying to talk to his guys. So we may make that happen. Our date is October 11th. I can change it if I want to, but we are like this close to making that happen. But Elon Musk wants to help sponsor professional boxing that we might do. That's my story.